Okay, let's start with mantra. Om Vang me manasi pratishthitam mano me vachi pratishthitam Aviravirma edi Vedasyama ani stha Shrutam me ma prahasi Anena dhitena horatran samdadhami ritam vadishyami satyam vadishyami tanmam avatu tadvaktaram avatu mam avatu bhaktaram avatu bhaktaram. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. So today we have a hymn of Shivashvatreya to Savitar, and it is Gayatri mainly. The first is Anushtup and then Gayatri. So Gayatri and Anushtup differ only in one thing, that Anushtup has one more pada, 8-syllabic pada, whereas Gayatri has 3 padas, 3-8-8-8, 24 syllables, and Anushtup has 8 more, 8-8-8-8, 32. Basically they fit beautifully together. Both are iambic rhythm. So it flows like this. Tat savitur vare vrinimahe vayam devasya bhojanam shraishtam sarvadhatamam turam bhagasya dhimahi asyahi swayashastaram savituh kachana priyam naminanti swarajayam sahiratnani dashushe suvati savita bhagah tam bhagam chitram imahe adyano deva savitah prajavat savih saubhagam paradushvampiyam dushvapniyam suva. Everywhere you see suva, suvati, savita, always root su is used in every verse. Vishvani deva savitar, duritani parasuva. Again. Yad bhadram tanna asova anagaso aditaye devasya savituh save vishva vamani dhimahi avishva devam satpatim suktaih adyavrinemahe satya savam savitaram ya ime ubhe ahani Pura eti aprayuchan svadhih deva suadhih deva savita ya ima vishva jatani ashravayati shlokena pracha suvati savita. Everywhere suvati savita, the same surut, savih saubhagam parasuva. Every word, parasuva, asuva, save, savituh, save. So each satyasavam, savitaram, each verse has this su emphasizing root. Let's start with the first verse. Tat savitur vrinimahe vayam devasya bhojanam. Shraishtam sarvadhatamam turam bhagasya dhimahi. I'm deconstructing Shreshtam sarvadhatamam, otherwise we miss 2 syllables. Of Savitri divine, we embrace that enjoying, that which is the best, rightly disposes all, reaches the goal, Even bhagas we hold by the thought. As you know, bhaga is the fourth aditya of the Mitra Arya, Varuna Mitra Aryaman. Bhaga is the fourth one. So it is the aditya of the divine bliss. It's from root bhaj, bhaga. From here we have bhakti, bhagya, bhaga, many words. Bhagavan, the blissful Lord. So bhaga is the Vedic Godhead, Aditya, who is responsible for sharing. Sharing, what is being shared is the delight. It's kind of interesting thought, yes, that what we can share is the delight only. We can't share anything else. We can't share things. We share the delight of things. So, interpretation, that we enclose into ourselves, that enjoying of Savitar, of the God, which is the best, which is the most powerful in establishing and holding the all, strong and swift in its movement towards the goal, that of the Lord of bliss, we fix our concentration upon. It is an interesting thought that the enjoyment of Savitar is upholding all, supporting all in the oneness of the universe. This support, mutual support, is the delight which we share. Yes? So this hymn is dedicated to Savitar Bhaga, Savitar full of delight. He is the creator who upholds the universe, and that oneness generates the delight, exchange of delight, bhakti. Asyahi svayashastaram savituh kachana priyam naminanti svarajayam. For of him no pleasure in things can they diminish. For too self-victorious is it, nor the self-empire of this enjoyer. So he is the enjoyer, and he upholds all, and by upholding and exchanging all the delight between all, he enjoys the universe as a creator. It reminds us of the first verse of the Isha Upanishad, yes? So all this is for habitation by the Lord. Ishavasyamidam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat. Whatever moves in this universal motion is for the habitation by the Lord. Tenat yaktena bhunjitha. Therefore you enjoy by all this being free from attachment to a particular enjoyment. Magridhak, don't grab anything separately from others. Kasyas vidhanam, because whose wealth is it? It's already your wealth as the Lord, who upholds all, and the flow of soma, of the delight, has to take place. You cannot be obstructed, cannot be taken away for me only. It has to flow through me. And once it is flowing through me, Savitar Soma of the same root Su, that extraction of the divine delight, Ananda, if it is shared with all, then you are of that consciousness of the Creator, of the Lord. As long as you need something for yourself separately from others, you are not the Lord, you are Anisha, you are not Master. The Master is the one who allows the flow of the delight. And then you enjoy all this, as the Isha says, yes, Isha Upanishad. Tena tyaktena bhunjitha, enjoy with all this. not with something separate from other things. Don't grab anything. You cannot have it separately from others. You can have it only as the whole. So, for him, no pleasure in things can they diminish. For him, no pleasure in things can they diminish. For too self-victorious is it, nor the self-empire of this enjoyer. So my interpretation, his indeed is a self-victorious delight, stronger of all that may oppose it. What may oppose it is separation, taking part of delight for myself against the others. The self-empire of Savitri, which none can diminish. It is a crucial characteristic of Savitri that there is no power in this or that world which can diminish his delight, which is self-ruling in all the manifested and not yet manifested things. Things which are coming in time in the future, they are also determined by this oneness of delight. It is because of his delight that no one can leave this creation, though it is so difficult to bear. I'm kind of quoting here from Savitri, from the passage of Secret Knowledge where Shiva lies down and Kali is dancing on his chest. Happy, inert, he lies beneath her feet. His breast he offers for her cosmic dance, of which our lives are the quivering theatre, and none could bear but for his strength within. Yet none could leave because of his delight. It is this delight all-pervasive. It's kind of amazing that we always find, even if we are in the misery, in the miserable state, we always, next moment, we find a new delight, because it's everywhere. It pervades the whole universe. All the relations are pervaded with delight. And it can be always found. It is everywhere for us. We think it is not, that this is my delight and I will keep it. But it is not so. The delight is everywhere. Just get out and see the sun and the sky and the wind. And the delight is everywhere for you, given already freely. You don't need to have it. You can't have it. It's given. It's by default already yours. You cannot have it more than it is already yours. So this idea of having something for myself is that power which tries to diminish his swarajyam, his self-empire, of selfishness. As Sri Aurobindo says, there is no other sin than selfishness. There is no other sin, only one sin, selfishness. I am for myself. It's impossible to be for yourself. Sahi ratnani dashoshe suvati savita bhagah tam bhagam chitram imahe. 'Tis he that sends forth the delights on the giver. It is he that sends forth the delights on the giver. Why? Because the giver allows the flow of the delight. And once the flow of the delight is going through him, Savitar sends new delight. It flows through him. The God who is the bringer forth of things That varied richness of his enjoyment we seek. He indeed urges onto the giver of the sacrifice, Suvati Dashushe, the spiritual experiences of delight, for he is Savitar Bhaga, the impaler of all things and the enjoyer of all things. It is that delight varied by many different perceptions of consciousness, Chitram, that we seek. I'm examining here with Chitram, which we know from Hindi and other languages later. The word Chitram is often used as an adjective in the Veda for power or delight. It is derived from root chi, actually, to perceive, to know, to gather, to focus. In the later language, it is always translated as various, colorful, many-colored, and even picture. We take pictures, chitra. It's quite interesting because it is closer to the root. Focus. Focus, holding focus, it's picture. When we hold our consciousness upon one element of the existence, it is that picture. We are picturing it. So if we try to fix the meaning of this Vedic term, including the meaning of its root, it could be translated as conscious, or perceiving many facets, hues or colors, or even varied in many different perceptions. The phrase Tambhagam Chitram Imahe can be translated to be seek the delight capable of perceiving or being conscious of the many aspects of this creation, which is of the universal delight. So we are seeking the varieties or capacity to fix our consciousness upon many different varieties of the delight, of the delightful exchange in the universal existence. That capacity to be able to receive the delight from all possible relations in the universe. That means we have to have a fundamental freedom of the Lord, because only He is capable of getting the delight from all possible relations. We are very selective in our relations of delight. We want this type of relations, and there we get the delight. But this type of relations we don't get. We are avoiding them. But to get from all possible relations, you have to be totally free as the Lord. Adhyano deva savitah prajavat savih saubhagam paradushvapniyam suva. Today, O divine producer, send forth on us fruitful felicity. Dismiss what belongs to the evil dream. Dushvapniyam, duh svapniyam. Now urge on to us your fruitful and perfect delight, O Savitar. Urge away the evil perception from us, which was imposed on us, as if a bad dream. A realization of the consciousness of the Lord is compared to the waking up from the nightmare, Dushvapniyam. The Rishi has realized already this perception and asks Savitar to generate the delight full of fruitful outcome, full of offspring. Interesting. Offspring has something to do with the delight. We will look into it more. It's something very occult and very profound. For man, and to urge the consciousness of falsehood and ignorance to get away and not to veil the perception of the truth. This separation which creates selfishness is actually that dushvapnyam. It is that nightmare or that evil dream, the darkness pervading the light, separating light from light, not allowing the flow of the delight. Yeah? Because light is the bridge for the delight to flow. So once you cut into light with darkness, with that dushvapnyam or that nightmare, evil dream, create this illusion of separation, then the flow of delight is interrupted. Interestingly, that he uses this word prajavat, saubhagam, the perfect delight of kind of charged with or with offspring, full of offspring, having offspring, praja. Praja literally, if we translate literally, ja from rujjan, to be born, pra forward, something which is to be born forward, which has the future existence, or which connects what we have with what we don't have yet. Yeah? It's kind of projection. Projection is a good praja, fits in the same sound. Projection of our being forward. Yeah? And this is offspring. It's our children. Children are projections of what we are, kind of passing forward all our achievements, all our transformed realizations in the body through genome, through genetic code. We are passing all what we achieved, realized, got new, adjusted, transformed. We pass forward to the future generations. It's a projection of what we want to be in the future. There's some kind of sense of dynamic truth moving forward. And the delight has something to do with this, and also with offspring, with young children being born. Youngsters, they are born, they carry the energy, the fullness of energy and delight forward. And the very process of being born, getting new generations, has something to do with the generation of delight. Something very mysterious about progeny. Yeah, I never could crack this mystery, but I always feel there is something there which mind cannot really perceive. It's beyond the mind. Yeah. First of all, the generation of the offspring in general, so to say, marriage, it's all charged with delight. Yes, marriage, production of children, nurturing, growing children, having relations with them, giving them everything the best you have. This projection towards the future of oneself, yeah, is charged with delight. So Rishi asks Prajavat Saubhagam, the perfect delight which is projected towards the future, full of progeny. Not the delight which is, how to say, selfish, fixed on oneself, but the delight which has a future, which has a direction, the flow towards the future. Because we are all directed towards the supramental realization. And that is Savitar. Savitar is here to generate that flow of soma, delight towards the ultimate realization of the divine. And that flow has to be maintained. That's why the flow has to be maintained. If we would not have this evolutionary projection or idea that we have to grow into some higher consciousness, then why not to be selfish? It's totally okay to be yourself, whatever it is, but not. It's not okay. It's not enough. It leads to misery. We are not ourselves here. We are here to fulfill something of ourselves. We are not the final product of evolution. We are transitional beings here, Sri Aurobindo says. We are on the way, the ever-advancing pilgrim. And if that pilgrimage is not maintained, as Mother says, if you are satisfied with what you achieved, you start immediately falling back, regressing, dying. The moment you are happy with what you achieved and don't want to move forward, don't want to progress anymore, what you do, you die out. So there is only one way to live, is to progress, to move forward, and never be satisfied with what you achieved. Because that becomes the trap of death and dukhsvapnyam, of this nightmare, evil dream. You're enclosing yourself into the evil dream of some achievement. Now I achieved and I can really rest or retire. Let me retire. Yeah. Retirement plan. Pension. No pension for us. Forward, moving forward, always young, ever moving forward. And that is the delight of existence. Vishvani Deva Savitar Duritani Parasova Yad Bhadram Tanna Asova. All evils, O divine producer, dismiss all those evils who want us to stop and to enjoy our achievements. What is good, that send forth on us. All that leads us in a wrong way, you, O God Savitar, Duritani, interesting, Duritani, that which leads astray, away, farther away, into the trap, actually. O God Savitar, send away from us, and that which is good, yeah, you send unto us. Asova, literally press out unto us that which is Bhadram. Now the Rishi asks Savitar to impel all that is auspicious unto man, beneficial for their growth, Bhadram, and to remove, dispel all that which is obstructing his sacrificial march towards the truth. It is a formula of dynamic truth which helps to choose and activate that which is to be done at every moment or at every step of the journey towards the manifestation of the divine. There are steps to be covered, there is path to be walked, and that path we have to walk. We cannot kind of jump over it. We cannot imagine that we crossed it. We have to walk it. Such an attitude demands from the pilgrim a full awakening and alertness all the time, which implies that the higher self, Jivatma, has been already found and realized. So mukti already took place. Now the path is to be walked. There is no asking for mukti, for it is already realized, achieved. But there is a quest for a constant support of the supramental Godhead, Savitar, removing the obstacles in his way, in his supramental way, and fulfilling the being with bliss on the path. But if the realization of the higher self did not take place, and the people are exposed to such a dynamic pressure of written truth, they would have to suffer the consequences of the battles they themselves cannot handle. That's where we are. We are facing the battles we cannot really win ourselves. We need the winner, the supreme, to interfere. They would have to invoke the powers of and presence of the Godheads to help them out. Even if they have realized their higher selves, they would need to help the help of the universal forces of the divine, aligned has to be changed, the word, aligned with the supramental truth. What to say about those who did not yet find their true selves? So this is a very kind of strange thought of mine. Nowhere in the Veda you find any request for help me out, make me free, let me find the divine. It's not the quest. The quest is to remove the duritani, the difficult obstacles on the way, or the stumbling blocks on the way, or Savitri, or the supreme supermind, supramental force. Please remove the obstacles on my journey and press out for me Bhadram, the bliss of the Supreme. This bliss is the only thing which is satisfying on the path. Or which is maintaining, sustaining the path. Because if there is no bliss, only suffering, that means there's something wrong altogether. There is no sunlit path, as Mother says. As long as you feel suffering or dissatisfied, you should know that you are not sincere, that something is wrong with your attitude towards the path. So the moment you feel that means you are in the obstacle, in the durita, yes? Something which is leading you astray, away from the sunlit path. So the quest is from the Supreme to remove those traps on the path. And there are many of them. The whole world around us and our own bodies are full of these traps. So, but there is a central force in us which has aligned with the Supreme. And that alignment, that psychic alignment, is to be charged constantly by the Supreme. The Supreme has to support that movement of the psychic forward with his bliss, with his constant, that pillar of light has to come to the psychic and to hold it on the path. And this is the sunlit path. The moment that disconnects, the psychic disconnects from the Supreme, from Bhadram which it has to send, then there are traps again and again, and we have to face them, to deal with them, we notice them. If that pillar of light is there, supporting the psychic, and we are aware of it, then there is no issue for us whatsoever. Then, as Mother says, even not the Mother, but Satprem says, even if psychic being would come to the concentration camp, it would see only the paradise, because it sees the world differently. It sees different values, different relations, different delights. So it doesn't really emphasize that selfishness anymore. Those duritani are gone. They are removed by the Supreme. removed from our awareness. It would be nice if they would be removed, yes, altogether. All Duritani and only Bhadram will be sent to us and manifested in us. There are moments in life when we feel this way. But it is only with the supreme grace that it can be done. It cannot be done by us. We cannot do it alone. Even with our psychic presence, we cannot do it without support of the Supreme. Psychic is to be supported by the Supreme, then we are almighty. But if we are alone psychic, or we are even without it, so what can we do? I actually put this text, which I wrote, to the GPT-4 and asked him to give me a kind of overview of this one particular passage. And look what it did. This passage provides a profound interpretation of spiritual invocation to Savitri, a Vedic deity representing dynamic energy and divine will, which is totally true. I don't know how he knows this. He is a breakdown of its key ideas and significance. First, invocation for guidance. Oh God, couldn't say better. The prayer seeks Savitar's intervention to dispel obstacles. Absolutely. All that leads us in a wrong way, and to attract auspicious, beneficial forces. All that is good. This dual request reflects the pilgrim's aspiration for purification and alignment with divine truth. That's number one, invocation, calling, wanting the support of the Supreme and alignment with it. Second, dynamic truth, rhythm. The Rishi emphasizes the formula of dynamic truth, signifying the ever-evolving discernment required on the spiritual journey. It implies that every moment and action must be guided by divine will to ensure alignment with the truth. Absolutely true. Number 3, awakening and readiness. The pilgrim is called to maintain constant alertness and full awakening, which presupposes a realization of the higher self, Jivatman. This awareness enables one to navigate the path of rhythm with clarity and purpose. Absolutely. Beyond mukti, interesting, unexpected shift here. The text moves beyond the desire for liberation, mukti, assuming it has already been attained. It's absolutely that. Instead, it focuses on the continued quest for divine support to overcome challenges and manifest bliss, indicating a shift from personal salvation to active divine service. I would put transformation. It has to be adjusted. And number 5, challenges of dynamic pressure. Those unprepared or lacking realization of their higher self may struggle under the intense demands of rhythm, the dynamic truth. The text warns of potential suffering if one is unable to handle these pressures, underscoring the need for divine assistance and guidance from the universal forces. And 6, divine cooperation, even for the realized. The journey requires collaboration with the divine powers. This illustrates the interdependence between individual effort and divine grace in navigating obstacles and achieving spiritual fulfillment. This interpretation portrays the invocation as a holistic guide for spiritual seekers, emphasizing vigilance, humility, and reliance on divine forces to sustain progress on the path to truth and bliss. GPT is quite capable of systematizing one paragraph into the whole list of things. It knows what it does because it operates by language. I was thinking about this, that we are in the time when expression of the content can be given in a very systematic and clear manner, as GPT does. And we are not lacking anymore that capacity. Capacity is given to us. Even if we don't have it, we don't need to struggle. What we have to have is the content, the what. If I don't have the what, GPT will explain to me something else. Yes, I need to have the very stuff, the substance. I have to put substance, and GPT will systematize the substance. If substance would not be here in this passage, then it would be a different description of things.
What did you put in your paragraph, or did you put the Sanskrit in? What did you put in?
I put this only, this. Sanskrit I didn't put because it doesn't read Sanskrit. But English, my own this, and asked him to just to summarize. And that's how it's summarized.
Okay.
It's amazing, really. A little working on this text to make it more kind of suitable for my preference, and that's it. It's nearly that what... It's quite... I do not have those, kind of sharp angles or perceptions of... Because for me it is more holistic. For here it is more like syntactical. GPT knows how to mentally use language to highlight different topics, within this bigger vision. For me, bigger vision is more important than topics, but topic-wise, it's totally true. It's quite interesting, anyhow. Just wanted to share with you this. And then there are a few more verses. Let me see how many. 4 more. Maybe we can take one more too and stop. Anagaso aditaye devasya sabitu save vishvavamani demahi. Blameless for infinite being in the outpouring of the divine producer, we hold by the thought all things of delight. Interpretation. For it is when Savitri is urging us towards the realization of infinite consciousness of Aditi, the Divine Mother, that we become sinless and faultless, holding in our mind all things of delight. What is suggested here is that being on the right path is making man faultless and sinless, being on the path of the dynamic truth. For it is then he can hold in his consciousness all things of delight. So to say, holding all things of delight means seeing all true relations between things in the divine light, in the divine consciousness. The manifold perception of delight, bhagam chitram, and by holding so becomes most true to all. This is the core of this vision. The delight neutralizes the division made by day and night, as it were, and by dwelling on it, one becomes supporting all. So one has to find the delightful relations between things, and they will be true relations. The truth and delight go together. But as Augustine says, if you go for the delight before the truth, you will arrive at trap. If you go for the truth, you will arrive at delight, which is not a trap. Okay, I will stop here. And if you have some thoughts on the delight and truth, it's important for us, for our also 12 qualities group, where we discuss these things of the truth and delight and their relations. As Sri Aurobindo says somewhere, truth is a corridor to the bliss, and the world of bliss. Corridor. That's kind of. It's not the major room. Because why do we need truth? We need truth for the realization of bliss. It's the means to achieve the bliss. And many times we are misled. Yes, Selby.
I had two associations that came to me during this reading. One is when you talked about the offspring, I was thinking about the psychic being coming forward, about being like a forward coming birth, that maybe the offspring is the spiritual birth of the person, and that the things that come from that are the fruit. Not that we don't necessarily want the fruit, but the fruit comes from us when that new birth happens. And that the second thing that kept striking me was that the line from the Lord's Prayer about lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. That's the message that is being said about removing the obstacles and having help to get past them. I have a hunch, and I haven't worked it out totally, but I have a hunch that if I dig and dig and dig in the Lord's Prayer, I will find yoga. So I'm working.
Absolutely, absolutely. This idea of the psychic being turned forward is really very true what you say, because psychic being is not yet formed. It is evolutionary being, evolutionary divine spark, which is growing into being. And it must grow, yeah? It must become the Lord himself, that soul within us. So it is oriented towards its growth. It demands its growth. It wants it forward. Yeah? Without it, there is no forward. Yeah? There is no evolution without the psychic being. We don't need evolution without it. What is there to be evolved? Then the universe becomes typal universe. Typal means types exist and then they destroy themselves, and then new types exist, like machines. They don't need to evolve. They just exist because no reason why, but they are there because they are there. That's it. Being is there and we cannot explain it because it is there. It was always there. But this, to grow, to evolve, to change, to become something is very different.
That is very interesting and sparks all kinds of things in my brain. But what I was thinking when you read the part about something like there's no sin or whatever, if you're looking at things with the truth, a terrible paraphrase, but that there's a way of looking at things that you've ways you've missed the mark in your own life as being the building blocks that taught you the lesson that you needed to learn so that you could get to the next part or that sort of thing. So I love this idea of that evolving being because I've heard people say things about the soul wanting experiences. And I would think there are some experiences I've had in my life I would prefer not to have had. Thank you very much, soul. But now you can kind of get it. It's like, oh, but if I wouldn't have had that experience, or if I wouldn't have done what I think is just a terrible mistake in my life, how would I have learned those things? How would I have known that wasn't the thing to do or whatever? I don't know. But yes, that just struck me. And I love that idea of the psychic evolving. And then I can think of myself as a child with a little bit more grace, that there's this part in me that's learning these lessons, and to be generous, just like I would be with my children or my grandchildren, as I see them learning to walk or whatever it is that they're learning to do. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. This is a great idea that when we say that if the soul awaken will appear in this concentration camp, what I was mentioning, but this is not the case. Yeah, there is no awakened soul yet to appear there. So what we are going through with our small soul evolving, growing, is our spark. We have the means for its growth. Yeah. So those mistakes we make, those sufferings we face, everything is useful for our growth, for intensifying the light. But if it is comes to the front and totally awakened, the world is very different. Mother even compares it to the egg. The bird in the egg is we are not yet born spiritually. But when the soul comes to the front, it's like the egg is broken and the chicken is out, and it sees totally different world, a huge, and not the world in the egg. So we are now in the egg. Of course, how can we see the world? Yeah. So we have to grow, and we are growing there, suffering and whatever is there in the egg going on until it breaks and we come out. All right, that awakened chicken seeing the egg life will see it differently. That's what it means, most probably. So we cannot compare it. We do not know how it looks. Yeah. But we have a sense of it, that it may be very different from what we usually perceive. And when we become wiser with time, we see that those elements which we couldn't bear at all are very bearable and even insignificant, really. So we gain some force of consciousness which helps us see it differently.
Vladimir, I had a thought there where you mentioned that truth is a corridor to some goal. I was just thinking about the fact that when we have truth as our objective in life, if that's really our goal, the central goal in our heart, then it enables us to be completely free about our behavior. And like we were talking about the other day, is that the goal is to just be loving for love's sake alone. And so there's no other motive. And that's the benefit, that's the manifestation of bliss, is that can then come about in our consciousness if we have truth as our sole objective. If we have have other motives, like you're saying, if we have other ambitions,
for example,
other endeavors.
bliss, yes. If you're looking for bliss, for enjoyment, for pleasure, then you will fall into the trap because you will start selecting, yes? You are not
Right.
looking for the truth, but once you are, as you say, looking for the truth, which makes you free, then only you can find that delight, yes?
Right.
That's the corridor to the delight. Truth is the uh, corridor to the what we are looking for. We are all looking for one thing, for the delight. Yeah, the delight is the ultimate. How to say? There is a word for it. No,
The ambrosia that we want.
right, ambrosia or immortality. Delight is the ultimate proof. I'm looking for the word. The ultimate proof of the realization of the spirit. But not pleasure. Even pleasure is a small thing, but because of its separate form, it creates also, it comes with pain immediately.
It's very
Because that
mundane.
separation is also part of it. Yes?
Yeah.
Yes, Robin.
Yeah, pleasure is it's dull. It's dull, it's finite, it's confined. It doesn't have the freedom and the real bliss that we sense. We know that. So it's very temporal. But always, if we have our compass set on the truth, and that's what we're focused on, then we will avoid all of any pitfalls that we shouldn't go down, or roads that we shouldn't go down. It's a self-correcting path. Just some thoughts.
I was just also thinking oh, I'm sorry. Go.
No, nobody says anything. Go ahead.
Sorry, I misunderstood. I was just thinking about the truth as the corridor, that the place that you're going to, you don't know, right? It's the surprise of the bliss. So, I maybe pleasure is you know where you want to go. And so then you're seeking the bliss, which is the trap. But if you're just on the corridor of the truth, you don't know what the bliss is going to be until you walk through that corridor. I like that.
Actually, it's quite amazing that Augustine also in his this speaks the same way. If you are seeking the divine for the sake of pleasure, he says, then you will be trapped. You will go a wrong way. But if you are looking for the truth, whatever it may be, the truth, whatever it may be, you are ready to accept it, to be free, then you will find that bliss, yes. It's kind of corridor to the bliss. You have to pass it through, otherwise you will not find the bliss. You have to be free before you get that delight of the Lord, which holds everything and allows Soma to flow. That flow of Soma is the ultimate delight of the Lord.
Es gibt doch, there is also this word Satyam Eva Jayate Na Andritam. And it just came to me that Satyam is actually coming from Sat, it is fullness. And if we are in this fullness, naturally we are also not Andritam. Ritam is also the rhythm. And if we are out of the rhythm, naturally there's no delight. And if we are in the rhythm and our truth and this wholeness, there's delight. So this word.
Yeah, it's a very good unrhythm, out of rhythm, You are not in the rhythm of the truth. So truth is there, but you are kind of misplacing it all the time. And because of that misplacement, it generates those traps, obstacles, duritani. Interesting the word, duritani, kind of going astray, going not which is not really actualizing the movement, but making it non-actual, as it were. Dur itani, going away, far.
Every time one of you says the word corridor, I'm struck by the root core, which means heart.
Well, okay, it's a good corridor.
Vladimir, is there a connection between Patanjali Yoga Sutras and what we are trying? Because I was reading something there where he was going deeper into Pratyahara and the whole aspect of visualization itself, because the first yama, niyama, and the four out of focus in that, when you're visualization, it's all about energy. Like you have to conserve the energy, then the creation of energy happens, and then concentration of energy, and then the letting go so that it shifts, the movement happens. But in all that, he also says it's the bridge between Tantra and Yoga. So the Tantra, which has an outward focus, and shifting on to Yoga, which has an inner focus. But sometimes what happens, the Tantra becomes indulgence when you get stuck to that self-image. So when Robin and Selby also were talking about the real, the truth. So somewhere I find that indulgence is moving towards the self-image, and self-image is always the untrue aspect of it. And most of the time we get stuck in that. And that is the vritti actually, which becomes a veil to what is the truth. So if we get stuck up there, it goes into indulgence. And if we can just conserve the energy and move beyond that, and then the real truth or delight, the bliss, the soma, that
Yeah,
happens.
very interesting. Yes, it's a psychological kind of what you did to see the vritti as the image which we build with these distortions. Nature built the image for us because it has to hold the spark which has to evolve. It's not yet ready to come forward. If it would be ready, that image would not be needed. Yes, it would just jump into the embodied state and come to the front. But unfortunately, everything evolves together. That spark grows into being, and this body becomes more and more capable of receiving the spirit. So they go simultaneously, parallelly together, growing. And that creates the whole, problem for us. Vritti, those vrittis are needed because they are holding the something which is true. And without vrittis, there would be no symbolic representative of what is true. So the whole evolution will be impossible. So it's something very amazingly arranged, let us say. But you are right that this idea of pratyahara, when we withdraw our senses from these images which we build, the nature built for us, this kind of context in which we all, as we discussed in our Savitri studies, we build the worlds around us, yes, all this cultural and linguistic and social environments in which we recognize ourselves and our activities as such immediately, naturally. But these environments are actually very artificial in a way. They are just to support the development. They are not in themselves the thing. Yeah? They are instrumental to something which is coming through. In themselves, they do not have that value. They are rather the constructs or the to help us grow. Yeah? So this construction which we build, our social relations, our linguistic relations, the whole civilization is nothing but the construct for the spirit to grow through, yes, and to be able to come to the front. Pratyahara, what it does, it withdraws the involved senses into this construction. So you remove them from there, from all those involvements, come back to yourself, and finally, so to say, you have yourself for a moment without construction, which is a very new state of being. Yeah? We rarely experience ourselves without constructions, without involvement. Here I left thought, there I left some expectation, here they expect me to be something. Everything, all this is cocoon in which I live, that egg shell, yeah, in which I'm building myself slowly, growing, is a construct. So now pratyahara does something interesting. You withdraw to yourself, like you pull as tortoise pulls the limbs back under the shell. You remove all your senses back to yourself. So you're not involved there, you're not expected there, you don't have anything to say there anymore. You're free finally. It's a kind of psychological freedom for a moment where you are here gathered and nowhere else, and then only you gain the power to concentrate. Then you can focus on something which you were not able to focus on. Then you can know anything and everything because you are kind of free as the Lord. Yeah? You are yourself finally, without the construct, as it were. Now you can view construct very powerfully, efficiently. You can see things nobody can see in that construction, yeah? Because you are not involved. You are free. You gained your freedom. Now you can approach the world differently. You have the capacity to hold any image of things in a very different manner. And that leads you to samadhi, to the knowledge by identity. That's Yoga Sutras. Yes, there is something there of that freedom, pratyahara especially. And then you gain the power of dharana, or concentration, and then power of dhyana, which is like unforced concentration. Yes, you don't need to force it anymore. It's a natural flow of concentration. So wherever you look, you are capable of holding any image of things. This is dhyana. And then you can take anything and become it, be it. And that is samadhi. That means full knowledge by identity. You know thing because you are the thing. So in this case, you can know everything, the whole world, yeah, the whole construct, but differently, with the freedom, with yourself already there, rather than yourself being a part of the construction. Great. Okay, we can stop here for today and finish our hymn next time. And there is the text by Sri Aurobindo, very beautiful. We will read together on Savitri Bhaga, where he explains all things. Next time. Okay, I will close with mantra. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha Sarve Santu Niramayaha Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. He is also in this mantra. Sarve bhavantu sukhinaha. May all be sukhins, yes, the happy ones. Sarve santu niramayah. May all be without the residue which was not digested, the residue which is not accepted by our true being, yeah? Something which has to die out, the ama, so that creates unhealthy state. May all be healthy, we say. Sarve bhadrani pashyantu. May all perceive only blissful things. Yeah? Because they are there, and we have to learn to perceive them. Mahakashchid dukkha bhag bhavet, and may nobody partake of dukkha. And dukkha, interesting word, it's translated as suffering, but it is again duritani durkha. Yes, so bad space, space which is not aligned, space which is misplaced. Yeah? Misplacement. Nobody should partake of misplacement of the truth. So in this light, I'm translating differently the mantra. All right, great. See you then next time. Namaste.